Welcome to our HAN election night coverage. I'm Kate Japlensky with John Kovach, and we're hosting tonight as our news staff are out in the field collecting results. So we will be talking to them, John, and, kind of an exciting municipal election in some of our towns.
There are a lot of towns where there's not a top-of-the-ticket race, and yet you're seeing excitement at the polls. The Ridgefield Press just tweeting now that at 7:55, you still had voters filing into East Ridge Middle School. There's no race for first selectman. It's school board and zoning races. These are the elections where the issues closest to home that affect your everyday lives are handled. It's settled. It's you choosing the people who make those decisions. It'll be interesting to see what turnout is, because generally it's lower than a presidential year, even though it's kind of counterintuitive based on the day-to-day impact that these elections have.
Right. And so, as we're waiting for those results to come in, obviously polls just closed now at 8 o'clock, but we're going to run through the races that we're following in alphabetical order. So starting with Bridgeport. Now, Bridgeport has no top-of-the-ticket races, but we will be following what happens with the Board of Education election. Control there could be changing since 6 of 9 seats are up for grabs. Now, there's been a lot of infighting on that board. The Connecticut Post has reported that 3 members, in fact, gave up their seats prematurely, and others staged a 3-month boycott in a failed attempt to get a fellow member to resign. Now, there are 9 candidates vying for 5 four-year seats and a separate special election to fill the remaining 2 years for a board member who resigned. Only 2 of the candidates running are incumbents. So we will be following that Bridgeport race, John. But what else are we following?
In Darien, you have a race for first selectman. The Republican incumbent, Jamie Stevenson, seeking her 4th term as first selectman, 5th on the Board of Selectmen. She's being challenged by Democrat Rob Richards, who is currently a member of the Board of Selectmen. Also running Chris No. He's kind of a third-party candidate, gets involved in a lot of issues, very involved. He's always been one of those people that makes a stand and makes when he makes a stand, he makes a big one.
Yeah. Another race we're following is in Danbury. There is a top-of-the-ticket race there. Now, Mark Boughton, he's the 16-year incumbent, and of course, he's expressed interest once again in being the GOP candidate for the governor's race in 2015, but he is being challenged by Al Almeida, who's a combat veteran and an investigator in the Office of the Public Defender in the Danbury Judicial District, so we'll be following that race. Now, interesting to note, we don't have a paper in Danbury, but we have been following this controversy that's come out today in Danbury regarding their ballot. Now, state election officials said the city's Republican-led administration violated state law by keeping a recently deceased councilman, Greg Seabury, on the ballot. Now, Gabe Rosenberg, a spokesman for the Secretary of State's office, told the News-Times that office lawyers informed city officials Monday that Republicans must either name a replacement candidate by 2 p.m. Monday or take Seabury's name off of the ballot. Now, Seabury, Republican running for re-election to an at-large seat, unfortunately died on Saturday, but Republican officials said late Monday that they would keep the name on the ballot, and if he were to win, fill the position as if it were a normally occurring vacancy. Now, John, Danbury Democrats have sent a letter to City Hall Tuesday threatening legal action if any of his votes are counted.
I was going to say, that's one I see ending up in court.
In litigation, yes.
No question there. In Easton, an uncontested race, Adam Dunsby running unopposed for another term as first selectman. The Republican is also concurrently the state representative in the 135th district. The charter there allows that. So he's the first selectman of Easton and represents Easton, Weston, and part of Reading in the General Assembly. The only contested races for 2 Easton seats on the Region 9 Board of Education that oversees Joel Barlow High School, where Democrat Maureen Williams is challenging incumbent Republicans Catherine Gombos and Todd Johnston.
Now, also following Fairfield a bit, John, but I think you could speak to Fairfield a little bit more than I can.
Well, you have no vote at the top of the ticket. The first selectman, Mike Tetro, is in office. No race for selectman or town clerk. The only board besides selectmen in which Democrats hold a majority is the Board of Education. GOP has a 2-seat margin on the representative town meeting. The vote today is to fill 2 seats on the Board of Finance, 4 on the Board of Ed, another 2-year vacancy on the school board, 2 seats on P&Z, and 3 seats on the Board of Assessment Appeals. There are also seats up for grabs on Fairfield's RTM. What's interesting here is more of the behind the scenes and the not at the polls politics. You had a resignation from the Board of Selectmen. There was an appointment of a temporary fill-in. There was an effort to have a special election. Republicans on the Board of Selectmen refused to set a date. That ended up going to court. A judge finally ruled that there would be a special election on June 6th, that one by Democrat Kevin Kiley. But now the Democrats have run into a problem where within the past week, 2 candidates have withdrawn as it was discovered that they don't live in Fairfield, they live in Black Rock. A complaint is pending about that. So a lot going on outside of the polls in Fairfield.
All right, and also following Greenwich's race for first selectman, you have Peter Tessie, who's the Republican and the incumbent. He was first elected in 2007, and he's running for his 6th term, but he's being challenged by Democrat Sandy Litvak. Now, Litvak is a practicing attorney. He's also a former assistant attorney general in the United States Department of Justice. Litvak has been endorsed by some national Democrats from Connecticut, such as Congressman Jim Himes. And I think also interesting that during this campaign season, election season, there have been links about ties through Connecticut Democrats with Harvey Weinstein and Litvak a bit. That has been mentioned.
There's been a lot of between the parties of trying to tie local candidates to national issues. Tie the Republican to
more so
Donald
than usual.
Trump. Tie the Democrat to Harvey Weinstein, who was a big national donor for the Democrats. Just ways to find a way to associate a local opponent's name with someone whose popularity might not be where they would like it to be. Milford, Ben Blake, the Democratic incumbent running unopposed for another term as mayor, his 4th. The interesting race there is for city clerk. You have Republican incumbent Joanne Warrig, and she's being challenged by Kim Rose. And Kim Rose is a Democrat, but she's also the state representative for the 118th district. She also works full-time for the city of Bridgeport. She has said she would retire from the Bridgeport job if she wins the clerk race. She has not said what she would do with the state representative job. You also have a Board of Aldermen race there that involves Brian Anderson. He's a Democrat challenging Rosa DeLauro in the 3rd district for that nomination. Always an uphill climb there, Kate. Be interesting to see if he can win in the 5th district on the Milford Board of Aldermen.
Right, if that will hurt him locally. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Now, Monroe, also a 3-way race. Another race we're seeing for the top of the ticket that does not have an incumbent, as Steve Vavrick did not seek re-election. He opted to retire from that role. So you have Ken Kellogg, the Republican. You have Dan Huntsberger, a Democrat, and Frank Bennett, unaffiliated. And interesting to note, I know we've been seeing from the Monroe Courier that turnout is higher than it was 2 years ago, and you do often see that when there isn't an incumbent in the race.
What is interesting to see there is that Bennett is running as an independent because the Republicans did not endorse him. What effect is that going to have on the vote totals?
And now another top race that we're following tonight that is proving to be quite interesting, and we knew that it would be, but that's in New Canaan, the race for first selectman. You have Kevin Moynihan, a Republican, and Kit Devereaux, the Democrat. Now the incumbent there, Rob Malazzi, he was not endorsed for re-election at the Republican caucus back in July. He actually lost to Moynihan by 10 votes. So it was very close there. Now, so far, we're hearing that it's pretty tight. I know you've spoken to Greg Riley, our New Canaan Advertiser editor, a bit, John.
They have posted 2 exit polls. This is all unscientific. It's just our reporters talking to people leaving the polls who are willing to speak to us. But at 4:40 p.m., the 2 exit polls were showing that 109 people who the New Canaan Advertiser talked to said they voted for Devereaux. 97 said they voted for Republican Kevin Moynihan. So that small sample is showing an edge for Devereaux. Devereaux would be the 2nd woman to serve as first selectman of New Canaan. She would be the first Democrat in the town's history to be elected. You've also got town council races going on in New Canaan. Now, so often the Republican caucus in New Canaan, held in July, is essentially the election, and that gets a lot of the coverage. It's been interesting to see this unfold during the day. I want to see when these numbers start coming in.
Yeah, they'll be starting to come in soon. We're also, of course, following Norwalk and what happens with the mayoral race there. You have Harry Rilling, the Democrat and the incumbent. He's being challenged by Republican Andrew Conroy, the unaffiliated candidate Lisa Britton, and petitioning candidate Bruce Morris. So another four-way race right there. We're seeing a few of those in the towns we're covering.
Another uncontested race in Reading where Julia Pemberton, the Democrat, will win another term as first selectman of Reading. The interesting race there is Board of Finance. You have Mark Lewis, a Democrat, who lost the Democratic primary in September. He filed papers to become a writing candidate, and just within the past week or so, qualified for the spot on the ballot. So it's now a three-way race. He's running for a four-year term against Democrat Edward Miller, who won the September 12th primary over Lewis by 13 votes, and Republican Louis Goldberg. Goldberg and Miller were very angry initially at the news that Lewis had gotten onto the ballot. When was the last time you saw two candidates, one from each party in the same race, co-write a letter stating their case? They were not happy about this. Another interesting thing, the Republican Town Committee is not supporting Goldberg in this race, saying that he's made some insults in public, insulting Republicans personally and as a party. So that's going to be interesting to see how the Board of Finance race in Reading shakes out.
All right, now in Ridgefield, we have no top-of-the-ticket race there. First Selectman Rudy Marconi, Democrat, who's held that seat for quite a while. He has a four-year term, and he ran unopposed 2 years ago. So the two biggest races in Ridgefield, and we'll be talking with Ridgefield Press Editor Steve Coulter about this a bit later, is Board of Education. Now, that has 8 candidates for 4 seats, and with the decision recently to push back school start times, that's going to start in the 2019-2020 school year, it'll be worth watching if the incumbents there, who include Doug Silver, Margaret Stamatis, and Dave Cordisso, get re-elected or not. Now, there's also Shannon Diorso, who is running for a 2-year seat and is running unopposed. Now, there's also the planning and zoning race, and it's all incumbents on the ballot there, besides Joe Dowdell, who ran for state rep last year and lost to John Fry. Also on the ballot is one write-in candidate. This is the first time in 8 years, and that's Bob Cousins. He said he hopes he can bring some change to the board. Now, this is an interesting election because there's been a lot of controversy over planning and zoning proposals recently, specifically with some commercial entities wanting to move into residentially zoned areas. We're seeing that with the Winter Club proposal in Ridgefield currently. So we'll be following more on that. And as you mentioned earlier, John, actually, there were people still lining up at the polls late, even though there is no top of the ticket race in Ridgefield. So people are still really interested.
And that's because it's going to affect what you drive past on your way to work every day, what's next door to you. Similar situation in Shelton. Mark Loretti, the Republican incumbent, running unopposed again for another term. But you have a big changeover on the Board of Aldermen. You have a big changeover on the Board of Education. All the seats are up for grabs there. Not really clear what the turnout's going to be without Loretti at the top of the ticket. And then planning and zoning, where there's a lot of controversy about the Shelter Ridge development, about development on Bridgeport Avenue, where we're located right now. There are some people very opposed to that. And that's not, I think City Hall there, and you were an editor in Shelton, City Hall kind of more, we need more development, it builds the tax base. You've got two opposing factions there hashing it out today at the polls. Well,
I think what's interesting there is I think most Shelton residents are happy with the way that Bridgeport Avenue has been developed, but the new proposal now that would go higher, be larger, now I think there's some concern there. Of course, we also saw a controversial proposal get mentioned recently, but you can follow more on that at sheltonherald.com. I know Aaron just had an update. Aaron had an update on that on Hush Shelton, the proposed burlesque club that was going to move it in. Appears right now, at least, it's not moving forward at this time. Another race we're following. We don't have a reporter in Stamford, but we will let you know what's happening in that mayoral race. You have David Martin, who's the Democrat and the incumbent, Michael Fideli, a Republican, and John Zito, an unaffiliated candidate. So we will be keeping an eye on that race as well.
Stratford's going to be one of the more interesting towns as the night wears on. Mayor John Harkins not seeking another term. You have Laura Hoydick, a Republican, Stephanie Phillips, a Democrat, and Sandra Zalick, a petitioning candidate, all running for that slot. Whoever wins will be the first woman mayor of Stratford. They've only had two, John Harkins and Jim Myron, who preceded him. Hoydick has said that she will step down from the General Assembly. She is state representative in the 120th district, a job that she got in the special election that followed Harkins being elected mayor. You've also got some interesting council races there, a lot of turnover on the council. We saw a total flip on the council 2 years ago. You saw a Democratic tidal wave come in. You had a lot of new people. We'll talk more about that later. There's a lot of people not seeking re-election. There's a lot of people who, now that they've had the time off, can run again in the term limit situation that Stratford has. And it'll be interesting to see how Stratford moves forward in the days after this election. A lot of that being determined by who wins at the top of the ticket.
And before I move on to the race in Trumbull, just want to mention that I have an update from Shelton. According to Aaron Berkowitz, our editor, their voter turnout of approximately 31%. Now, in 2015, it was 41% when there was a mayoral race. So interesting to note they're a mayoral opponent. But moving on to Trumbull, and this is one of the top races we're following tonight. This is a three-way race for first selectman. You have Paul Lavoie, the Republican, Vicky Tesoro, the Democrat, and Michael Redgate, who is unaffiliated. Now, Tim Herbst, first selectman of Trumbull, is not running for a fifth term. He is focusing on his run for governor. Now, Vicky Tesoro actually challenged Tim back in 2015, and she lost by about 350 votes. So it was a close election there. She's now being challenged by Lavoie and Redgate. Now, Lavoie has served on the Board of Finance and currently on the Board of Education. Now, Michael Redgate entered the race as well, and he's a local volunteer, a business manager who is well known in town. And, you know, Redgate has been talking a lot about uniting Trumbull. There's been some discussion about the infighting with fighting between the two political parties and trying to unite there. So a really interesting first selectman race. But according to Donald Ang, what I think is interesting about this race with no incumbent is that turnout's actually down so far. I mean, as of 6 p.m. in Trumbull, turnout was 36%, and that's down from 43% in 2015. Usually with our other towns where there's no incumbent, we're seeing things go the opposite way.
That one boggles my mind,
Yeah.
and you're more positioned to have a handle on that than I am, as you were an editor of the Trumbull Times. But that just boggles my mind that you're going to have a new first selectman for the first in a long time. You have a three-way race, and your turnout's down. I cannot fathom that one.
You know, Tim Herbst, as first selectman there, has been sometimes a controversial candidate, but also a really good campaigner. So was it more motivating with him involved on either side? We don't know. So it's interesting to see.
And who is the low turnout better for?
Right, who's it better for?
And who does Michael Redgate, the third-party candidate, take votes from?
Right. And, you know, just to mention also in Trumbull is a rematch for treasurer there. Now, John Ponzio, he narrowly lost re-election to his post back in 2015, losing to Anthony Musto, who is an outspoken Herbst critic and a former state senator. But now Musto and Ponzio are facing off again. So interested to see as well what happens in that town treasurer race in Trumbull.
A four-way race in Westport. Republican incumbent Jim Marpy being challenged by Democrat Melissa Kane. Independent candidate John Suggs, they're both on the representative town meeting, and unaffiliated candidate TJ Elgin, a brewmaster and personal trainer who is on a corruption and collusion crusade to try to clean things up. We should have those numbers filtering in shortly.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that race. And also Weston, we have our Weston Forum covering the first selectman's race there. You have Nina Daniel, who's the Republican and the incumbent, and Chris Spalding challenging her. He is a Democrat. Now, as of 5 p.m., 2,423 of Weston's 6,506 registered voters have cast their ballots in that municipal election. That represents just over 37% of voters in Weston. Now, Nina Daniel is the incumbent, but only by 2 years. She actually kind of had a surprise win 2 years ago, beating out Gail Weinstein. So she is seeking her second term. There's also a race for selectman between Democrat Brian Gordon and Stefan Grosinger. Now, this is a 3-member Board of Selectmen, so interestingly, the loser of the 2 races with the highest vote becomes the 3rd selectman on that board, which could be interesting and awkward, perhaps.
It's that way in several towns. New Canaan, the same thing. The loser in the race for Board of Selectmen is then in the pool, so to speak, with the other candidates. The top vote getters from there make the Board of Selectmen. Wilton, no top of the ticket race. It's a 4-year term for Lynn Vanderslice. The biggest races are Board of Selectmen, P&Z, and a contested Board of Ed race. The Board of Selectmen race is interesting to me because you have a Republican first selectman, 2 Republican selectmen, 1 Democrat, one unaffiliated. The Democrat is retiring. 1 Republican is up for re-election, so 2 seats are open. 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat are running. One of the Republicans is running as a petitioning candidate. He was the head of the RTC who quit his chairmanship to run against the candidates who were endorsed by the Republican Town Committee. And if the Democrat loses, which our Jeanette Ross with the Wilton Bulletin says is definitely a possibility, there will be no Democrats on the Wilton Board of Selectmen. The unaffiliated candidate would hold the minority representation slot. P&Z, age-restricted zoning is a huge issue there, and there's a lot of anger with the Board of Ed. A number of issues, including an expensive school renovation that people are still saying costs too much. Will we see a lot of turnaround there, a lot of turnover there in Wilton?
Yeah, and also the recent controversy, as we talked earlier, the presidential election seems to be playing more of a role in the municipal election than ever, but you did have a Republican candidate for Board of Education. She came under fire for some recent social media comments made prior to being elected, including support of the Confederate flag as part of heritage, criticism of former President Barack Obama. So just kind of causing some controversy among some people in town. So interesting to watch there. But we're going to step out for a break. That's just a rundown of the races that we're following.
We haven't gotten a number yet.
We got a lot to go and to talk about. We're going to step out for a break, and when we come back, we'll have a lot more for you on our live election night coverage.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 3 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue, Norwalk, 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien, or in the Westport Medical Center at 323 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Go to coastalorthoct.com. Like them on Facebook.
At Pamby Motors, we're not worried about being the biggest dealership. We're focused on being the best. We're dedicated to giving you the best experience we can. The Pamby Motors team is here to help you choose the right Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram in a friendly, pressure-free environment. And right now, during the summer clearance event, you'll find some of our best prices too. Like this lease on a 2017 Ram Quad Cab Express for $149 a month. Visit Pamby Motors, Route 7 in Richfield, PambyZone.com.
I'm Tracy Masella, a licensed clinical social worker at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. Join me each month as we talk with experts on the front lines of the treatment of mental health and addiction. Straight Talk with Tracy, a Silver Hill Hospital production, airs at 12 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month here on the HAN network.
The leaves are changing, water temps dropping, and the sun is setting a little earlier each day. But there's still a lot of great boating, fishing, and coast time left before we see the first snow. And above all, remember, it's always summer at the Dock Shop. With loads of new fishing tackle and accessories, clothing, jewelry, and home decor, the Dock Shop is just what you need when you start to feel that New England autumn chill. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
At Budget Blinds, we're in business to frame the light, the day, and the night. So we give you an exclusive combination of high style, expert service, our no surprises pricing, and our no questions asked warranty. We believe that everyone, at every budget, deserves style and service. Isn't that a beautiful place to be?
Welcome back to our live HAN election night coverage. I'm Kate Czaplinski with John Kovach. We just gave you a rundown of all the races we're following. And John, we were talking about Ridgefield, and on the line now we have Steve Coulter, who is the editor of the Ridgefield Press. Steve, thanks for coming on and talking to us.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
So, Steve, no top of the ticket race in Ridgefield. Rudy Marconi was uncontested 2 years ago. So what do you think is bringing people out to the polls today?
I think the biggest race here in town is the Board of Education. School start times have been the hottest issue in town for over a year now. So it's a board that just pushed to change start times here in Ridgefield. The Board of Education 2 weeks ago approved a later school schedule. And so I think voters are coming out to either support that choice or vote against the people that pushed that decision through 2 weeks ago. I think the other big race is planning and zoning. The Planning and Zoning Commission here has been under fire in recent weeks. Bed and breakfast on Circle Drive. We've had a controversial application on Old West Mountain Road that was in January, and then we also had obviously the big Winter Club kind of fiasco that happened over the summer. So I think a lot of the voters are coming out to either support the Board of Education candidates and the planning and zoning members that have passed or denied these decisions, or trying to get them out of office. It remains to be seen whether or not those candidates are going to remain in their seats.
What's the feeling between the parties right now, Steve, as early numbers, I'm sure, are just being read off the back of the machines?
It seems, based on the Unity numbers, that the Democrats actually have had a big night here. Looks like the Board of Education, Margaret Stamatis and Doug Silver are incumbents. It looks like they won back their seats. But on the Police Commission, it looks like the newcomers, Stephen Saloom and Arnie DeLoria, they've topped the incumbents, Joe Savino and Tom Reynolds, at least at the Unity poll, by a couple hundred votes. So it'll be interesting to see if there's some turnover there. The planning and zoning seemed pretty close. The only challenger is Joe Dowdell, who ran for state rep last year. He did not seem like he gained momentum based in the Unity numbers that he's going to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And it seems like it's going to be the 6 incumbents that were up for re-election.
Now, Steve, just a question about the school start time debate, because that has been one you guys have covered so well in the last few months. But there's been this contingent of parents that wanted it, and then a lot of people that didn't. So, I mean, what would you say is the bigger side of that argument?
That's a great question. The parents that are in favor of it seem to be louder, but there also seems to be a very large contingency of people, whether it's teachers, it's parents of athletes, elementary school parents as well, that seem to be against it. So although it reads in the headlines that there's this huge push, it also there's this quiet majority, I think, that hasn't really spoken yet. And that turned out, the schools put out a survey in October, and the people spoke, and they said they didn't want to change. They gave them 4 options, and the 4th option was no change, and that's what they supported. But the Board of Ed went ahead with changing the school start times anyways, listening to the advocates that are trying to fight for better student health, healthier start times.
All right, so Steve, we're going to be keeping an eye on your results. I know they're going to be all rolling in soon, but I mean, I'm glad that people are going out to the polls when there's no big, exciting top of the ticket race, because these are the issues that affect, you know, Ridgefield residents in their daily lives.
Yeah, one thing that's worth noting is already between the 2 polls, Unity and East Ridge, we've almost gotten to the 3,400 vote count. We haven't even got the Scotts Ridge numbers yet, which it's always the smallest poll, but it almost seems like we're going to be right at the voter turnout total from 2015, which included that top of the ticket race, as you mentioned. So it seems like the Board of Education and the planning and zoning races did drum up enough enthusiasm to get at least 4,000 people in town to vote today.
All right. Steve Coulter of the Ridgefield Press, thanks so much for talking with us, Steve. We'll keep an eye on your results.
All right, you have a great night, Kate.
All right, thanks,
All right,
Steve.
thank you.
Now, switching gears a little bit, just an update from the Darien Times staff, and they're saying that the early numbers coming in Darien, it looks like Rob Richards, who is the Democrat challenging incumbent Jamie Stevenson, and he's running for first selectman, he might miss out completely on the Board of Selectmen, and he's currently a selectman. Now, John, that has to do with what you were speaking about, which in some of these towns, the highest vote getters, even if they lose, will still end up on the Board of Selectmen.
Correct, and this sounds like it would be a total unseating of Richards if these numbers hold in Darien. Again, it's still early.
All right, and we are getting some numbers in currently. We are going to, John, should we want to step out for a quick break?
Let's step out for a quick break.
We'll step out for a quick break. We'll be back with more staff on the phone to give us some updates right after this.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
Bankwell combines the best personalized service with high-tech banking features for our customers' convenience. We pride ourselves on being a strong community partner. You don't settle for average in anything else you do. Why settle for an average bank? Don't just bank when you can bank well instead. Visit mybankwell.com for more. Manfredi New Canaan is celebrating 3 exceptional years selling Rolex watches and fine jewelry to the Fairfield County community. We appreciate all our loyal clients and look forward to welcoming and helping you discover the perfect gift to celebrate life's most important occasions.
At InSports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Registration is now open for our fitness training programs for high school athletes. The InSports Performance Center is offering blast speed classes, athletic functional movement assessments, and both men's and women's elite speed and strength training. Our premier programs help bring athletes to the next level. Call 203-268-1214 for more information. Like and follow us on Facebook.
Welcome back to HAN Network Live Election Night coverage. On the phone right now, we have Donald Eng, who is our Trumbull Times editor. Don, where are you right now?
Well, right now I'm at Democratic headquarters. They're at Tasha and Knowles up here in the north end of Trumbull. Just awaiting results right now. It's pretty apprehensive crowd, pretty excited. So we're just waiting to see what happens, just like the rest of us.
So have any of the district's results rolled in yet?
We haven't had district results. Now, what's interesting to note in Trumbull is that we had a 3-way race, and turnout has been considerably lower than it was 2 years ago, which is kind of a surprise to me because there is a third party or third candidate running, also no incumbent. So you would think this was the Democrats' best chance in the last 8 years or so to take the first office, but so far turnout has not really gone as expected. So, well, again, we're just waiting for results and to see how it turns out.
Yeah, Don, 2 years to see what was going to happen. And we mentioned earlier the town treasurer's race is also interesting because it's a rematch between two candidates, once again, from last year, from 2 years ago, Anthony Musto and John Ponzio. So what are you hearing from folks at the Democratic headquarters?
Well, what I'm hearing is they would have liked to see higher turnout. We don't really know how to read it. They say from their polling, they would like to have seen high turnout. The weather didn't really do them any favors, but there's nothing nothing anybody can really do about that. Also, as far as we mentioned, there is a third candidate in the race that would be unaffiliated Michael Redgate. Again, no one seems to know exactly how he will affect the race. Although I have heard from both campaigns that he probably will support us. If he draws, Democrats think he'll probably be about 10%. Republicans think he could get as high as 15%. So then we'll have to look at the final results and see where those votes came from.
Don, we did get to have all three candidates in our studio here and spoke with each of them separately. And, Paul and Vicky, both very involved in town government. Michael Redgate, not really a newbie to politics in town, but still very involved. It seemed like either way, I think Trumbull voters had good choices this year for sure. It seemed like everyone kind of had experience and knew the issues.
They really did. Vicky Tesoro obviously has been very involved in town politics, town council, board of finance. Same thing with Paul Lavoie, board of finance, now currently on the board of education. So those two really brought a lot of experience with them. Michael Redgate, a lot of people knew him from around town. He hasn't been involved politically before, but he's got very deep community. His family has owned a business here for many years, and also he's been, as he mentioned, he's been involved with police, he's been involved in the school system, he's been involved with Trumbull YMCA. So he's definitely, his volunteering and his business relations with people in town, which are overwhelmingly positive, have really helped his campaign a lot. It's just nature of the business he's in, that when people need his business, they're in a time of crisis, and he's been a steadying force that everyone really has positive things to say about him. So the sense I get is that both political parties and the affiliated really liked the candidates they had. So that's an interesting fact. No one really seems to be voting against anybody. There are three candidates that the town seems to really like.
All right, Don. Now, before we let you go, any results come in since we've been talking?
I had to get out of the room, actually.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll let you get back to it. We'll let you get back to it. But I know you'll keep us updated, and we'll get the latest Trumbull results as soon as they come in. Donald Ang, editor of the Trumbull Times. Thanks so much, Don.
Great, thanks.
Now, John, Don was talking a little bit about the unaffiliated candidate in Trumbull, and we were talking about that earlier. I mean, it's an uphill battle for an unaffiliated candidate, and then you can't really build a team. That's kind of part of being unaffiliated.
That's a big part of it. It's very difficult to campaign. You don't have the party pockets and the party money behind you. You don't have the phalanx of volunteers. I'm going to cut this off because we're just getting this from Melvin Mason of the Stratford Star. But what he's hearing is that Chris Pia, this is the town council race, has won District 1. Ron Tichy has won District 2. Ken Poisson, who previously held the seat, won District 6. Jim Connor, who previously held the seat, won District 8. Bill O'Brien won District 9. Laura Dancho, District 10. These are unofficial, but if these hold up, it is a huge win. The Republicans take back a big majority on the town council that just 2 years ago totally flipped the other way.
Wow. Now, I know we've talked to Melvin about this, and I know you followed it as a former Stratford starter, but there has been a lot of infighting within the Democratic Party recently.
You have a schism there to an extent, which is why I think Laura Hoydick stands a good chance, the Republican running for mayor of Stratford, because I was there the day she kicked off her campaign, and there were some very prominent, longtime Democrats in the crowd on Academy Hill that Saturday to support her. I don't think you have a unified Democratic Party. You had a lot of friction between the members of the council, between the members of the council and the mayor. It was a very volatile situation. Now you're seeing a lot of people who were on the last council or have other boards coming back into the fray. They're winning back. It's almost like a return to, I don't know if people are looking for a center, if they are looking for a base of knowledge that I think was missing, because when the council turned over last time, you really had nobody there with experience. There was a lot of confusion even into setting up the first meeting, into a lot of the nuts and bolts that go into running a government. It's a very complex thing. We're seeing some people returning to the town council, and it looks like we're seeing Republicans retake Stratford.
All right, really interesting there. Now, in Milford, just an update from Jill Dion, our Milford Mirror editor. Now, of course, Milford, again, no one challenging Mayor Ben Blake this year, but the city clerk's race is apparently very close, and folks at the GOP headquarters are paying close attention as the numbers come in, hoping that their incumbent, Joanne Roehrig, doesn't lose her seat to Kim Rose. Now, Kim Rose is also a state representative, and over the past years, the incumbent city clerk has always won re-election, so it would be unusual if she's voted out. It will also be unusual for a current state representative to take over the city clerk seat, as we mentioned earlier. So updates from Jill Dion of the Milford Mirror on a tight race there for city clerk.
I've got breaking news here from Greg Riley, editor of the New Canaan Advertiser. This is out of New Canaan. This is pending the absentee vote count, and they are saying there are about 400 absentee votes out there. But Republican Kevin Moynihan, 2,506 votes. Democrat Kit Devereaux, 2,424 votes.
Wow.
So it looks like Moynihan will win. The Republicans will hold the seat they have always had in the first selectman's office in the town of New Canaan.
That's a close race there, though. Really interesting. All right, we are going to step out for another quick break. We'll come back with more live election night coverage after this.
Wild Birds Unlimited.
At Wild Birds Unlimited of Brookfield, get expert advice from our certified bird feeding specialists. We offer always fresh, clean seed that will be sure to attract birds to your home feeder. Experience our excellent customer service. Open 7 days a week. Visit us at 317 Federal Road, Brookfield.
Wild Birds Unlimited. We bring people and nature together.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Whether you're looking for a great test prep program, tutoring to boost your grades, or a blast-off tour with the college of your dreams, C2 Education is here to help. There is nothing one-size-fits-all about our programs. We offer customized tutoring and test prep for each student. Call us today at 203-423-3328.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
We know it's your busy season, and that's why Walter Stewart's Market is here to make things easy by offering the best of autumn under one roof. Walter Stewart's Market is your local one-stop fall shop. There are so many seasonal flavors to savor, and Stewart's has them all, from Blue Jay Orchard's local cider donuts to Vermont Farmstead cheddar and all of your favorite varieties of local apples and pears. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and find us at stewartsmarket.com.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Come experience for yourself. Car buying the way you want it to be.
At Black Horse Garage, we fulfill all your sports car needs. We specialize in manufacturer-recommended service and aftermarket high-performance parts and installation. We have one of the nation's top storage facilities and offer a high-end collision department that understands your need for detail. Visit blackhorsegarage.com for more.
Coverage on the HAN network. I'm Kate Chaplinsky with John Kovach, and I know we actually have a candidate on the phone. John?
Yes, Kate, we're joined by Ed Miller. Ed, the Democrat, just won what became late in the game a 3-way race for a 4-year vacancy on the Board of Finance. Ed Miller is with us now. He beat Republican Louis Goldberg and Democrat Mark Lewis, who lost a primary in September to Mr. Miller. Mr. Lewis, and then correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, Mr. Lewis then petitioned on and late in the game got in onto the ballot as a write-in about a week before the election. Congratulations on your win. Pretty handy win. I'm looking at the numbers and I'm showing 1,162 for Miller, 648 for Republican Louis Goldberg, and then 334 for Mark Lewis, who petitioned on. What do you think this victory says, Mr. Miller?
Well, I think it is a sign from the voters of Reading. By the way, I'm humbled and proud of their support for me, and I think it's a sign from the voters that they really want change on the Board of Finance. They want to begin looking forward. What are the things we can do as a town to keep our town the best small city, best small town in Reading? And I'd also like to say that it was really a big night for us Democrats in town because we swept every race. We took control of the Board of Finance, and I'm just really proud of the opportunity that voters gave us.
What do you think was behind the Democratic sweep in Reading tonight?
I think for the past couple of years, there's been a downgrading in the respect and civility between the boards. I think the voters wanted boards and commissions that work well together, that listen to each other, that value public input. And the people that they voted for today are people who really talked about the future and talked about what are the things we can do to preserve our values and our pillars of the community, while at the same time safeguarding the precious resources of our tax dollars. And I think that's what the Democratic candidates were committed to, and that's what we're going to try to do.
What are the big issues that are going to challenge Reading fiscally in the next year or so?
Well, the number one issue, obviously, is the development of the Georgetown land development, which has been mired in litigation for a long time, and really finding a way out of that, and then finding a way for smart development there that can extend and enhance Reading's tax base would be important. We've come through, like many towns in the state, we've gone through a period of declining enrollment in our schools that has presented some financing challenges, but we're now through that. And now we have the opportunity to, again, focus on keeping our school system, which is one of the best in the state, at or near the top of the state. And then the final thing is we need to continue, again, to preserve our land values, our property values, by not overburdening the taxpayer, but at the same time, by keeping the things that make us special strong. And so those are the three things that I want to focus on.
Good luck. Congratulations on the win, and good luck going forward. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to join us here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Ed Miller, Democrat, victorious in the Board of Finance race in Reading. And right next to Reading, Kate, you've got some news that just came in.
Yeah, from our Weston Forum staff, it looks like Chris Spalding, the Democrat, has beat Nina Daniel, the incumbent Republican, in a landslide. Brian Gordon, a Democrat, is also taking a selectman seat, and Stefan Grosinger gets more votes than Nina Daniel and gets the third selectman seat. This is a really interesting development. I mean, obviously, Nina Daniel won 2 years ago for her first term and was seeking her second term. So those are the unofficial results coming in out of Weston. And John, I know we have some other results rolling in to talk about.
Right now in New Canaan, and we're waiting for an official call here. We had given the numbers before the absentee ballot. Right now, you have 2,684 votes for the Republican Kevin Moynihan. You have 2,651 votes for Democrat Kit Devereaux. That is a difference of 33 votes. The threshold for a recount is 27, Greg Riley of the New Canaan Advertiser tells us. So I'm going to stay in touch with Greg, and we'll see how this unfolds and get an official call on that as quickly as we can. And also out of Stratford, Melvin Mason, they're still waiting for final numbers, but he's hearing unofficially that Republican Laura Hoydick will win the mayor's race in Stratford. So the Republicans there will hold the mayor's office and win back the town council.
Wow, big developments there, John. And just speaking of the New Canaan race that we're seeing, did you, as someone that's covered New Canaan, did you expect that race to be so close between a Republican and a Democrat running for first selectman there?
Yeah, I thought it had the potential to be because Kit has been involved for a long time. Kevin's a long time, but Kit was on when I was an editor at the New Canaan Advertiser, and that was for 11 years, and that ended about 10 years ago. But Kit was very involved then, very known then. I thought name recognition would be something in her favor. She has an overwhelming Republican majority to overcome. If you're going to be a Democrat and win in New Canaan, first off, you're in the minority of registered voters to both Republicans and unaffiliated voters. So you've got to appeal to the unaffiliated, and you still need a few Republicans to cross the aisle and vote for you. It sounds like a very good showing for her, but it sounds like Kevin Moynihan is going to win this by a nose.
All right, really interesting race there. We are going to step out for a quick break. Pretty soon on the line, we're going to have Dan Aresti of the Darien Times. And we should, John, give a shout out to everyone at the Goose right now in Darien, because apparently we're playing there. So, hey, everybody.
Playing also at, and we're also playing, I've heard, at Trumbull Democratic headquarters.
Hey, all right. Well, we like to hear that. All right, we're going to step out for a quick break. We'll be back with more live election night coverage after this.
New Canaan Foreign Car. Yes, New Canaan Foreign Car has been servicing all makes of foreign cars for over 50 years. We also buy, sell, and consign cars too. We can help you with all your automotive needs from service to sales. Call us at 203-966-2681.
At Portofino Restaurant and Wine Bar in Bethel, fresh and simple food is our concept. Owned and operated by brothers Rocco and Louie, Portofino has a distinct and diverse food and drink menu. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Come join us for live local music on Tuesdays and Sundays, Wednesday nights for mouthwatering prime rib, and every Thursday night is ladies' night. Planning a party? All our catering menus are personalized to suit your event and your budget. Join us at the Dolan Plaza, 213 Greenwood Ave, Bethel, and call us at 203-797-8131. Like us on Facebook.
Welcome back to our HAN Network live election night coverage. On the line right now, we have Dan Aresti of the Darien Times. Dan, happy to have you on. What's happening in Darien?
Well, the party has started here at the Goose in Darien, which is the go-to celebration spot for the GOP party here in Darien. First Selectman Jamie Stevenson has won re-election, and handily so, with just over 2,400 votes over her challenger, Rob Richards, who was a sitting Democratic member of the Board of Selectmen who had just over 900 votes.
And how did the third-party candidate, Chris No, do?
Chris No only managed about 20 votes. He's a bit of a fringe candidate, and some of his remarks at debates and the way he presented himself didn't garner a whole lot of attention from voters in Darien. The big story that's shaping up now is that the Board of Selectmen candidates, all four that were not running for First Selectman, have all then Jamie's challenger, Rob Richards, which means that Rob will be left off of the Board of Selectmen, unfortunately.
You were breaking up, Dan. Dan, hold on. You were breaking up, so I just want to make sure this is clear. All of the Board of Selectmen candidates had higher vote totals than Rob Richards, the Democrat who ran for First Selectman.
Yes, that's correct. Rob had about 900 votes.
Go ahead.
Rob had about 900 votes.
Go ahead, Dan.
Are you still there?
Yep, we're still here.
Yes, Rob had about 900 votes. Pam Sparkman, who was the lowest finisher on the other Board of Selectmen ballot, had over 1,000. And the way it works is that the next 4 highest Board of Selectmen vote getters will all be on the Board of Selectmen with the first Selectman winner. So since Rob did not outscore any of them, he will go from being a sitting Board of Selectmen member to a challenger for first Selectman to being left off the Board of Selectmen completely.
Now, Dan, let's talk
which
a little...
is obviously a...
Yeah, that's a really interesting development in this race. But Dan, let's talk a little bit about voter turnout. Obviously, Jamie, the incumbent, won, as you said, pretty handily. How was turnout for this election cycle, for this municipal election?
Turnout was fairly strong. Turnout was, throughout the day, we were monitoring it with the registrar of voters. And as the day went on, it hovered around 2 or 3% higher than in the last municipal election in 2015. So the voter turnout was improved upon the last municipal election. It's impossible to credit that to any particular local issue, or maybe it's, a response to politics at the state level in Connecticut or even at the federal level. I spent some time exit polling, and at least one person told me that they voted the way they did because of our current president. So, it's galvanizing the base in some way, whether it's state or federal level, but certainly turnout was up a little bit in Darien this year.
We're hearing that a lot, Dan, in a lot of these towns that the presidential election, the current president has affected people's turnout a little bit more.
It's affected turnout. I think it's affected results in a few places. So, I think
it definitely has. It definitely has.
Now, Dan, why does Yeah, I was just sorry, Dan. Sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say, so why? So, what are some of the issues that Jamie ran on that kind of led her to winning so handily?
Well, Jamie, I was just listening to her celebration, victory speech, if you will, and she described her campaign as being very positive and very forward-moving and very much about the issues that are going to move Darien forward and the issues that are local that people care about. And she credits that to galvanizing a base for her. Richards ran a campaign primarily around not necessarily negative ideas, but this is what I can do better than what you have, instead of maybe necessarily generating a lot of his own ideas. He ran on strong relationships with individual people in Darien, and that's something he definitely has, but something that has rubbed people the wrong way throughout the campaign is that sometimes he tends to do that on his own as an individual and leave out members of the Board of Selectmen and not working with them, but working on his own. And for some people in Darien, I think that rubs them the wrong way. So Jamie's campaign of local issues and being inclusive of her fellow elected officials, I think were the things that made her an attractive candidate.
And I know one of those issues, Dan, was the field lights, correct? That there was some controversy over comments made around the Darien High School field lights.
Sure. The field lights, are obviously up and on now. So it was interesting to me just on a personal level how much that became an issue, because they're up and they're on and it's kind of over. But as it was happening, there were letters written to our newspaper in which some of the letter writers credited Rob Richards for being the one who got the lights put up, that it was Rob Richards who got it done, when really this has been a project that's, for the town of Darien, about a decade in the making, with countless volunteers and a lot of hard work across all different boards and commissions here in Darien to make it happen. So for some people to see letters saying, well, Rob Richards is the guy who got it done, that necessarily wasn't, what people wanted to hear, and it really wasn't the truth. And I actually think Rob would be the first to tell you that he did not get the lights put up by himself.
Right.
He believes that he was able to forge relationships between the neighbors at Darien High School and town officials that led to a smoother process of having the lights built that avoided litigation of any kind and that kind of thing. So he thinks his relationships with community members helped that, but he would never tell you that I put up the lights on my own. Right. But it sort of became that way, and it was unfortunate for him.
All right. Well, Dan, thanks so much for calling in, giving us an update on Darien. We really appreciate it.
All right, you got it. You guys are on here at the Goose, so we're all paying attention to the rest of the state, too.
I know, we said hello to everyone before, so all right, thanks so much, Dan.
All right, good night, guys.
Good night. Now, John, before I know we have some more results coming in, but we also have some viewers asking some questions. Circling back to Stratford results as well, we are seeing some early results there as far as which way the mayor's race is going.
We don't have numbers yet. We have the unofficial numbers that the runners are posting at the party headquarters. I have just heard from Melvin Mason, and he says that it appears that Hoydick will be mayor and that Republicans will take the council. We are waiting to get the final numbers before we get those. That's the answer to the Stratford question.
Also a question on New Canaan and what's happening there. Really tight race.
As of 8:45, it is a 33-vote margin. Republican Kevin Moynihan over Democrat Kit Devereaux. According to the vote count tapes at the two polling places, so the totals with absentee ballots is 2,684 for Moynihan, 2,651 for Devereaux. Registrar of Voters George Cody says a recount will be held if the margin is less than 1/2 of 1% of the votes cast for first selectman. That number, based on 5,335 total votes cast, would be 27 votes. So it appears that Kit Devereaux would miss by 6 votes, qualifying for a recount.
All right, and I know we have some new results coming in. You've been talking to Jeanette Ross of the Wilton Bulletin.
Yes, we do, and what we're showing there is Democrats winning the Board of Selectmen race there. Democrats winning 2 seats on the Board of Ed. Wow. 2 Democrats, 3 Republicans winning on the P&Z. And we're going to be getting Jeanette on the phone momentarily to talk about it.
Okay, great. All right, so we are going to step out for a break, get some more of our news staff on the phone to talk about these results rolling in. We will be back with more live election night coverage on the HAN network right after this.
We know it's your busy season, and that's why Walter Stewart's Market is here to make things easy by offering the best of autumn under one roof. Walter Stewart's Market is your local one-stop fall shop. There are so many seasonal flavors to savor, and Stewart's has them all, from Blue Jay Orchard's local cider donuts to Vermont Farmstead cheddar and all of your favorite varieties of local apples and pears. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and find us at stewartsmarket.com.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Come experience for yourself. Car buying the way you want it to be.
At Black Horse Garage, we fulfill all your sports car needs. We specialize in manufacturer-recommended service and aftermarket high-performance parts and installation. We have one of the nation's top storage facilities and offer a high-end collision department that understands your need for detail. Visit blackhorsegarage.com for more.
The Kitchen Center offers quality cabinetry and affordable pricing. Visit our showroom for a free consultation with our professional design staff. For all your other home improvement needs, visit Northeast Building Supply, our full-service lumberyard and window showroom. The Kitchen Center, a division of Northeast Building Supply, 1470 Barnum Avenue, Bridgeport.
Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863.
All right, welcome back to our live election night coverage on the HAN network. Kate Chaplinsky with John Kovach. And on the phone right now, we're joined by Jeanette Ross, who is our Wilton Bulletin editor. Jeanette, thanks for joining us.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, good. And now, so Wilton, Jeanette, did not have a first selectman race. It's a 4-year term there, but there's been some interesting developments tonight. Can you tell us a little bit of what's going on?
It has been a very interesting night, Kate. Wilton is known as a Republican town, but I have to tell you, the Democrats were the top vote getters tonight. It was a real surprise. We have the head of the Democratic Town Committee, Deborah McFadden. She has won a seat on the Board of Selectmen. And I have to tell you, had she not won this seat, there would have been no Democrats on the Board of Selectmen in the coming year.
Wow.
Is that a surprise that she won?
It is a surprise. She was up against 2 Republicans running as Republicans and a 3rd Republican running as a petitioning candidate.
And now, Jeanette.
And she got the most votes of all of them.
Wow. And so why do you think that change has occurred? Why do you see that shift happening? Any idea?
Well, I do have an idea. You know, over the past few days, I think since about last Thursday, there has been a controversy swirling here about one of our Republican Board of Education candidates for her social media posts. She posted things like, you know, she was in favor of the Confederate flag and some controversial posts about, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement. And I was just speaking with someone else here at the polling place, and I think perhaps the Republicans were a bit demoralized by that whole episode. She would have been a shoo-in for the Board of Education, but she finished a distant 4th.
And you think that's all attributable to the controversy that flared up this weekend?
Well, I also know that the Democrats really worked very hard at getting out the vote. You know, there are only about 700 in enrollment behind the Republicans. Unaffiliated voters are the majority here, but, you know, not by a whole lot. So I think it was a combination of that and also just a real hard get out the vote by the Democrats.
You know, Jeanette, it's interesting, and we've been talking about this tonight, but usually here in municipal politics, party lines don't matter as much. But now it's seeming like kind of national politics is having more of an effect this year on some of the municipal races.
I think that's probably true as well. You know, we had a Republican selectman change from that party to unaffiliated after Trump was elected. And but, you know, things have just gotten very, very partisan in Wilton. And, you know, the social media has been very, very nasty here. And so, like I said, this has been a real surprise. In the Board of Education race, Deborah Lowe, who is a Democrat, she got the most votes of anyone. And even in the uncontested Board of Finance race, the one Democrat beat out the 2 Republicans. So it's just across the board, it is quite a surprise.
All right. Well, Jeanette, thanks so much for calling in and giving us an update on what's happening there in Wilton.
Sure, my pleasure.
All right, Jeanette Ross, editor of the Wilton Bulletin. John, we have another big race result coming in, one that we've been watching closely tonight.
This in Trumbull, word is that Paul Lavoie, the Republican, has conceded. Vicky Tesoro, the Democrat, wins the first selectman seat in Trumbull, vacated by Tim Herbst. He's going to run for governor. That's no secret. He spent the day going from polling place to polling place across the state. But Vicky Tesoro, the winner, we should have her live in the very near future, Kate.
You know, I mean, we talked about this with Don earlier. I mean, I think everyone in Trumbull had a good selection of candidates, but Vicky came very close 2 years ago to beating Tim Herbst, and that Herbst machine had been rolling very powerfully in the previous elections before that. And, you know, there was some discussion, did Herbst decide not to run for re-election for fear of not winning it, of losing to Vicky, and that could maybe hurt his bid for governor?
I don't think there's a bigger factor that can work in your favor in a local election than name recognition. And Vicky Lavoie had name recognition.
Vicky
she was
Tesoro.
Vicky Tesoro. And Paul Lavoie did too, but
Yes.
Vicky had been there, had come close. They knew that she could come close, and I think it's a combination of name recognition and what we're seeing, not just in southwestern Connecticut, but really across the country. We're seeing Democrats winning seats. And as Dan Arestia from the Darien Times said, we're seeing a bit of a backlash, and some people are saying that it's a backlash against President Trump.
Right. And I know we were having Patty Gay coming on the phone. Patty Gay, editor of the Weston Forum. Patty, thanks for calling in.
Oh, hi.
Patty, you have kind of a surprising result of your first selectman race there in Weston. Can you tell us what happened?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There's going to definitely be a change of the guard. Democrat challenger Chris Spalding doubled what Nina Daniel, the incumbent Republican candidate, got for votes. Chris got 2,100, and Nina Daniel had 905. So it was a huge, overwhelming Democratic victory for first selectman in Weston.
Wow. Patty, what do you attribute that big of a change to? I mean, the voters going so strongly with the Democrat.
Well, I heard others say the same thing, so I'm going to just kind of be repeating something. The Democrats were very energized in light of the national election. I think a lot of them felt they had to take back their party. They felt they had to have victories. They felt they had to get more involved. I think 2 years ago in 2015, they were kind of asleep at the wheel when they voted. This time they are wide awake. The Democrats are alive. They are healthy. They have a huge, the grassroots campaign in Weston was massive for the Democrats. They had kids. They had a lot of support, everybody getting behind them. So there was definitely a sense of getting involved.
Patty, did that carry through to the rest of the ticket and the other races?
Oh my gosh, did it ever? Wow. Not only did the first selectman race go to a Democrat, so did the selectman's race with Brian Gordon. However, Stephen Grosinger, the Republican challenger, got enough votes to get the third selectman seat. But in the Board of Finance really wasn't much of a struggle. There was only one Democrat, and he got a lot of votes, Steve Ezzies, but 3 Republicans will join him, Bob Ferguson, Jerry Sargent, Roan Baldwin. They're all incumbents, so that wasn't really a surprise. The Board of Education, this is the first other major shocker. We have Elise Major, Republican, an incumbent on the board, very well respected. Everybody, both parties respected her. She lost to a newcomer, Tony Pesco, Democrat, and Samantha Nestor, Democrat, both going to be on the Board of Ed, and incumbent Sarah Spalding, who is the wife of Chris Spalding, the first selectman. She's also going to be on the Board of Ed. She's an incumbent. So you had the 3 Democrats taking over the Board of Ed, and that gives them control now. The Democrats will control the Board of Ed. For Planning and Zoning, another shocker, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Tom Thala, again, very highly regarded, very well respected. He lost big. So the chairman of the board, the Planning and Zoning Commission, is out. And Harry Falber, who is a challenger, newcomer, never held a public office before, he's now going to be on Democrat. He will be on the Planning and Zoning Commission. He joins incumbent Sally Korsh, who's a Democrat on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and Britta Lerner, another Republican. She's on. But again, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission is out. So those were pretty much the surprises. You're going to see now Republican-controlled boards will now be Democratic-controlled boards, all down the ticket pretty much. So a major shift and major victories tonight for the Democrats.
So, Patty, have you or Greg had a chance to speak with any of the Republicans tonight to get any reaction to this huge shift?
I did. I spoke to both the Republican and the Democrat. I spoke to Chris Spalding, the Democrat, the new first selectman. He was very enthused, very excited, very happy, and he, very gracious. Chris is a very gracious man. He's very humble. He's a very nice type of guy, and it showed in how he always conducted himself. I got a text message. I'm not going to say who from at this point. I did get a text message from one of the Republican candidates. They're highly disappointed that even their best candidates didn't make it. So they're very disappointed.
All right. Well, I encourage everyone that wants more information on the Weston results to visit your website, thewestonforum.com. Patty, thanks so much for calling in and updating us.
Thank you. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks, Patty.
All right. Thanks, Patty. Now, we are going to be talking to Stratford Star editor Melvin Mason a little bit later, but he has tweeted out the final numbers in that Stratford mayoral race. Republican Laura Hoydick wins with 5,738 votes. Democrat Stephanie Phillips finishes with 5,126 votes. Petitioning candidate Sandra Zalick gets 688 votes, so Hoydick will replace John Harkins in December. That is the result of that Stratford mayoral race, John.
In Monroe, the Republicans hold the first selectman's seat. Steve Vavreck, the incumbent, did not seek re-election. Ken Kellogg, the Republican, the winner there. Don Hunsberger, the Democrat, has succeeded. Brian Gioeli of the Monroe Courier is reporting that it appeared that Republicans have swept all of the races there in Monroe, a very strong Republican town. So Ken Kellogg, the new first selectman in Monroe.
All right, John, we're going to step out for a quick break. We have more election night results coming up after this.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, Lisa 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
Bankwell combines the best personalized service with high-tech banking features for our customers' convenience. We pride ourselves on being a strong community partner. You don't settle for average in anything else you do. Why settle for an average bank? Don't just bank when you can bank well instead. Visit mybankwell.com for more. Manfredi New Canaan is celebrating 3 exceptional years selling Rolex watches and fine jewelry to the Fairfield County community. We appreciate all our loyal clients and look forward to welcoming and helping you discover the perfect gift to celebrate life's most important occasions.
At InSports Trumbull, game is always on inside. Registration is now open for our fitness training programs for high school athletes. The InSports Performance Center is offering blast speed classes, athletic functional movement assessments, and both men's and women's elite speed and strength training. Our premier programs help bring athletes to the next level. Call 203-268-1214 for more information. Like and follow us on Facebook.
We know it's your busy season, and that's why Walter Stewart's Market is here to make things easy by offering the best of autumn under one roof. Walter Stewart's Market is your local one-stop fall shop. There are so many seasonal flavors to savor, and Stewart's has them all, from Blue Jay Orchard's local cider donuts to Vermont Farmstead cheddar and all of your favorite varieties of local apples and pears. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and find us at stewartsmarket.com.
Want a new experience in car buying? No aggravation, no confrontation, just answers to all your questions. Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, car buying the way you want it to be. With one of the largest selections of new 2- and 4-door Jeep Wranglers available, we are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Located in Fairfield, Connecticut, we're easy to get to. Just 2.5 miles off the Merritt Parkway, exit 44 via Route 58 South. Scap Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Come experience for yourself. Car buying the way you want it to be.
At Black Horse Garage, we fulfill all your sports car needs. We specialize in manufacturer-recommended service and aftermarket high-performance parts and installation. We have one of the nation's top storage facilities and offer a high-end collision department that understands your need for detail. Visit blackhorsegarage.com for more.
The Kitchen Center offers quality cabinetry and affordable pricing. Visit our showroom for a free consultation with our professional design staff. For all your other home improvement needs, visit Northeast Building Supply, our full-service lumberyard and window showroom. The Kitchen Center, a division of Northeast Building Supply, 1470 Barnum Avenue, Bridgeport.
Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863. At Galt.
Welcome back to your HAN Network Live Election Night coverage. Kate Chaplinsky with John Kovach. John, we have some breaking news out of New Canaan.
Just within the past minute, we've learned from Greg Riley, editor of the New Canaan Advertiser, the Democrat Kit Devereaux has conceded. Kevin Moynihan, the Republican, the new first selectman of New Canaan, Republicans hold that seat. The vote margin at last count, 33.
Wow. I mean, that's got to be at least a little invigorating for the Democrats in New Canaan. I mean, at least coming so close to that seat.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen close race. I don't know that they've had a race this close. I think it's going to make for a very interesting term to see how this works. I am going to assume that Kit will win a seat on the Board of Selectmen, given that total.
All right, well, recapping some of the other results we have in Stratford, as we mentioned before the break, Laura Hoydick, the Republican, has won with 5,738 votes. Those are the unofficial numbers, of course. Democrat Stephanie Phillips finishes with 5,126, and their petitioning candidate, Sandra Zalek, with 688 votes. But Hoydick will be replacing fellow Republican John Harkins. And interesting to note, Laura Hoydick has said she will step down as a state representative if elected to mayor, which is interesting. You know, we've seen that happen in Easton as well, where you had Adam Dunsby. He ran uncontested, but he is also a state representative, but he is held on to that seat in addition to being the first selectman there. Now, also an update on Stratford worth mentioning is Melvin Mason has posted the town council winners, which I know many people in town are interested in. In District 1, you have Chris Pia. District 2, Ron Tishy. District 3, Wally Kadeem. District 4, David Hardin. District 5, Greg Kahn. District 6, Ken Poison. District 7, Bill Perillo. District 8, Jim Connor. District 9, Bill O'Brien. District 10, Laura Dancho. Republicans claiming 7 of the 10 open seats. As you said before, John, a sharp swing from 2 years ago when Democrats took 6 of 10.
And in Monroe, Ken Kellogg, the new first selectman for Monroe. And we have joining us by phone right now, Kate, is the new first selectman of Trumbull.
Vicky Tesoro. Vicky, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Vicky, how are you feeling right now? I mean, what was this campaign like leading up to it? Did you feel that this victory was imminent?
Yeah, well, you know, the campaign was wonderful. I met so many wonderful people in Trumbull and certainly listened to their voices, and I am overwhelmed that the people of Trumbull have clearly spoken that our democratic message of inclusiveness and cooperation was what they wanted.
Now, Vicki, when we spoke just not so long ago, just about a week ago or so, I know leaf pickup had become a big issue that kind of your opponent was hammering you with, that, you know, potentially you'd want to eliminate leaf pickup. Do you think that that message, despite you winning, do you think that that affected voters at all?
You know, I'm sorry, there's so much noise in this. I can't hear you.
It's okay. It's okay. You're celebrating. So, Vicki, this is big. It's been a while
we are celebrating. There's a lot of people here tonight. A lot of my great supporters and my volunteers. And it's very noisy in here, so I'm going to have to ask you to repeat that question.
Sure. Well, let me ask a more simple question. What's your message to the voters that didn't vote for you after the results of this election?
So you know, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble hearing you. So I'm just going to tell you that that my pledge during their campaign is my pledge today. You know, everyone's voice matters, and myself and my administration will clearly put Trumbull's interests first. That was what we heard loud and clear all the way through this campaign, about the Trumbull people wanting to have their voices heard in this community, and that's what we're going to do.
All right.
And we heard it today, and I heard it all day at the polls today from so many people who came up and said they wanted a change. They want to have their voices heard. They want the toxic climate that's been in this town for the last several years to disappear. And that's what we're going to do. That's my administration. I have a great team, and that's our pledge to this community.
All right, Vicki, we're going to go let you celebrate and enjoy this victory. Thanks so much for calling in.
Thank you.
All right.
Very much.
Vicki Tesoro, who has won First Selectman of Trumbull. We're going to step out for a break, John. We're going to come right back in just a little bit. We have another guest in studio joining us, Aaron Berkowitz, to give us the latest on what's happening in the Shelton election. Coming up after this.
Wild Birds Unlimited.
At Wild Birds Unlimited of Brookfield, get expert advice from our certified bird feeding specialists. We offer always fresh, clean seed that will be sure to attract birds to your home feeder. Experience our excellent customer service. Open 7 days a week. Visit us at 317 Federal Road, Brookfield.
Wild Birds Unlimited. We bring people and nature together.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Whether you're looking for a great test prep program, tutoring to boost your grades, or a blast-off tour with the college of your dreams, C2 Education is here to help. There is nothing one-size-fits-all about our programs. We offer customized tutoring and test prep for each student. Call us today at 203-423-3328.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
All right, welcome back to your HAN Network Live Election Night coverage. Kate Chaplinsky with John Kovach, and in studio joining us now, the man with the camera, is Aaron Berkowitz, the editor of the Shelton Herald. Aaron, Mark Loretti uncontested, but still a lot of interesting stuff happening in this race. Tell us a little bit about it.
Hey guys, happy election day.
Happy election day.
It was definitely an interesting one in Shelton. For the first time in 26 years, Mayor Mark Loretti ran uncontested. But surprisingly, in my last time speaking with him, I want to say last Friday, he told me that he wasn't running uncontested. He was running against the people opposing Team Loretti. So more specifically, we had Mark Adamski, who was I want to say the fan favorite running for P&Z, who ended up coming out on top and coincidentally bumping off Chairman Ruth Parkins, which was huge. Which was huge.
That is big.
Wow. So when I covered Ruth Parkins, been a long-time member of Planning and Zoning.
So people are speculating that it was her taking the position supporting Shelter Ridge, which is that 121-acre mixed-use development project on Bridgeport Avenue, Mill Street, and Buddington Road, which is also huge. There's stories about that all over SheltonHerald.com. So there's a lot of speculation around that, and the story gets a little bit more interesting because typically when a mayor is involved in one of these meetings, he'll give a speech at the end of it. Mayor Loretti was nowhere to be found today. He took
Not at headquarters?
He was at headquarters for most of the election results, but when Mark Adamski was announced as the winner, coincidentally he received a phone call and he left. Now, you know, it's all speculation as to why he left, but he was not there to give his speech.
Now, he and Ruth Parkins, though, worked pretty closely together. He had a lot of respect for her, as I recall. He thought she was a good chairwoman of Planning and Zoning. So could that potentially be it, that he wasn't happy that she didn't win re-election?
It very well could be. When I spoke with President of the Board of Aldermen, John Inglace, he said that he had a phone call, but like I said, it's all the speculation. It certainly looked as he was upset when he was leaving, but you know, I haven't had the chance to call him. I called him when I was leaving headquarters, and I got the old voicemail. So we'll see what happens tomorrow when I reach out to him again.
So I know you had some vote totals as well that you want to talk about a little bit. I know you were taking pictures of the results as they were coming in.
I was. And, you know, for someone who ran uncontested, Mayor Loretti raked in over 6,400 votes.
He gets the votes. He's a popular mayor.
He does. Votes have
which is why he runs unopposed time and time again.
And he's doing quite well in fundraising for his governor's race in 2018.
$270,000.
Yeah.
$270,000 raised for this gubernatorial campaign.
That's amazing.
It really is. And there's a few stories developing in that area too, so we got to stay focused on that. And then these other races, we have some new faces on the Board of Education. We have Ann Gatos, whose husband Michael Gatos was also elected today as a member of the Board of Apportionment and Taxation, which was also great. We had Chris Balamassi, who was selected in the third ward with President John Ingles. And Alderman for 4th Ward, they ran uncontested, Jim Capra and Noreen McGordy. And the 2nd Ward, Stanley Kudage and Eric McPherson were re-elected. And then in the 1st Ward, we had Anthony Simonetti, who was an incumbent, and we also had David Gidwani, really nice guy, who ran against Jack Finn 2 years ago and lost in a close race. Jack Finn announced that he wasn't running this year, and he selected Adam Heller, who's also a great guy. He was on apportionment and taxation last time around, but he took his spot on Board of Aldermen, and he came up just short. So David Gidwani won this race. He lost the last time around, but he said this time around he put in some extra work, even though he had some signs stolen from him. Came out on top.
Oh, we always hear about signs stolen this time of year. Who knows?
Can we get away from that, please?
If I'm going to be honest, there was a municipal election when I was in high school, and our friend's dad was running in it, and we might have stolen some of the signs because it was his last name. So it's not necessarily always like opponents stealing the signs. Sometimes I think it's dumb kids.
It's just part
like
of it
me.
sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Aaron, very interesting there. And I know you're going to be posting the results on SheltonHerald.com.
I will. Stay tuned.
All right. Thanks so much, Aaron Berkowitz.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Now, we've still been following a lot of the other results coming in. As John mentioned just a little bit earlier, Kit Devereaux conceded to Kevin Moynihan in New Canaan. So Kevin Moynihan, Republicans holding on to that seat there. John, I know we just spoke to Vicky Tesoro, who won the election to first selectman, but we have some numbers out of Trumbull as well.
Yeah, we have some numbers on those. These from Donald Ang. Tesoro, 4,714 votes. 4,151 for Lavoie. Redgate, 1,451. The town council flips from 15 to 6 Republicans to 11-10 in favor of the Democrats.
Really?
So you have a shift in power in Trumbull.
That's so interesting. I mean, when I was covering Trumbull, it was, like I said, the Herbst machine. Like, there was a very strong campaigning there, and that party did very well. There were very few Democrats on the town council at the time. But it's interesting to see. We're seeing that shift in some other towns as well, including in Wilton, where we spoke to Jeanette Ross, and she was saying that Democrats were really winning a lot of unexpected races there, and in Weston as well.
In Monroe, hearing from Brian Gioeli, that went all Republican. He said it was a very easy night there, that it was overwhelmingly Republican. And we're going to have Melvin Mason on shortly with the numbers out of Stratford, where the Republicans have taken back the town council.
All right. Well, while we wait for Melvin to give us a call, we'll step out for another quick break. Be back with more live election night coverage after this.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 3 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue, Norwalk, 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien, or in the Westport Medical Center at 323 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Go to coastalorthoct.com. Like them on Facebook.
At Pamby Motors, we're not worried about being the biggest dealership. We're focused on being the best. We're dedicated to giving you the best experience we can. The Pamby Motors team is here to help you choose the right Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram in a friendly, pressure-free environment. And right now, during the summer clearance event, you'll find some of our best prices too. Like this lease on a 2017 Ram Quad Cab Express for $149 a month. Visit Pamby Motors, Route 7 in Richfield, PambyZone.com.
I'm Tracy Masella. a licensed clinical social worker at Silver Hill Hospital in New Canaan. Join me each month as we talk with experts on the front lines of the treatment of mental health and addiction. Straight Talk with Tracy, a Silver Hill Hospital production, airs at 12 p.m. on the second Thursday of each month here on the HAN network.
The leaves are changing, water temps dropping, and the sun is setting a little earlier each day. But there's still a lot of great boating, fishing, and coast time left before we see the first snow. And above all, remember, it's always summer at the Dock Shop. With loads of new fishing tackle and accessories, clothing, jewelry, and home decor, the Dock Shop is just what you need when you start to feel that New England autumn chill. Boater, beach bum, fishermen, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
At Budget Blinds, we're in business to frame the light, the day, and the night. So we give you an exclusive combination of high style, expert service, our no surprises pricing, and our no questions asked warranty. We believe that everyone, at every budget, deserves style and service. Isn't that a beautiful place to be?
Welcome back to the HAN Network's election night coverage. John Kovach with Kate Chaplinsky. We've had it going hot and heavy here with our editors and reporters in the field calling. Right now, Melvin Mason, editor of the Stratford Star, is calling. Melvin, 2 years ago, we saw a tremendous tip to the Democratic side in Stratford, and we've seen all of that tip back the other way tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much for having me on, Kate, John. Yeah, this was a huge night for the Republicans. I mean, a lot of people have kind of expected Laura Hoydick to win, even with Sandra Zalick, the petitioning candidate, in the field. But it just seems like it was it was not nearly as close as most people thought. Apparently, not apparently, the final numbers have it that Laura Hoydick won by more than 600 votes over Stephanie Phillips. And it's a surprise. It's not a surprising result, but the numbers just didn't come through for Stephanie Phillips probably the way I talked to some Democrats earlier today. They actually feared the numbers earlier in the afternoon, saying that some of the districts they expected her to come through for her, and they just didn't come out.
Were you surprised at the margin in the mayoral race?
Yeah, I am surprised at the margin. I actually thought it would be almost like a nail biter, almost like probably down to like maybe 200 votes, maybe even as few as 50 votes. But no, 200 is a significant number, and it's a strong number for Laura Hoydick, and it just basically proves that the Republicans. I'm not sure what they were doing. I'm not sure how they did it, but they did something right, and apparently maybe they relied on Laura Hoydick's experience as the 120th district state representative, or maybe they just kind of kept things quiet, because I know the Democrats were very loud about Stephanie Phillips, and they really wanted to try and get the message out there that she was ready to take the town in a different direction from John Harkins. But the Republicans, their game plan worked, and now Laura Hoydick is going to be the third mayor in Stratford history, and she will be the first woman mayor in Stratford history.
Now, a conversation you and I have had around the office, Melvin, because I was editor of the Star, and that Kate and I had here on the air earlier, when I was at the kickoff of Laura Hoydick's campaign on Academy Hill several months ago, I noticed a number of prominent Democrats in the crowd there supporting her. I think that was an indication of a fractured Democratic Party in Stratford. Do the numbers and do the what's the feeling? Is the feeling there that Laura was able to attract some votes from the other side?
Yeah, I think there definitely is. I think there was definitely a faction of Democrats who just basically were not going to support Stephanie Phillips, and there were a lot. And even you can even point to someone like DePonte, who people had been saying was essentially endorsing Laura Hoydick for mayor, because she and Stephanie did not get along very well. I know publicly Neil Sherman had said that he was definitely not supporting the Democrats, and he actually voiced his support for Laura Hoydick, as well as the new District 2 councilman, Mr. Ron Tickey, who defeated Christina Heffern, who was hoping to succeed Scott Farrington Posner, who decided not to run again.
Thoughts on the council? I mean, was there any expectation of it being that overwhelming a flip in terms of the numbers?
No, I just from my own reporting and being around town, I expected it probably to be even split. I thought it would be 5-5, or maybe even the Democrats would get a chance to hold, even though Laura Hoyt might win based on her experience as the 120th district state representative. But the losses for the Democrats were to me, kind of surprising. Butran, you can kind of you can kind of say, well, he's a newcomer, but he lost by almost 50. He lost by more than 50 votes. But the big shocker, of course, tonight was Tina Manis. Tina Manis falling in District 10 to Laura Dancho. That pretty much was everyone in town hall who was waiting for the results to come in was stunned to see that Tina Manis had fallen to Ms. Dancho.
And she was one of the people, Tina Manis, who came in with the new group on the heels of the Water Pollution Control Authority plant referendum last year that really took it, and the council, it totally flipped, and Mayor John Harkins had a majority Democratic council to deal with. So, anything on the other boards?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did have results on the other boards. I know that District 5 zoning commissioner, Mr. Mark Giuliano, he lost the former town council chairman, Mike Henrick. He lost him tonight. There's apparently going to be a runoff between for the zoning commission seat between Barbara Heimlich and Alec Vicola. If you can believe it or not, it was finished by one vote, 9-19 to 9-18 for the District 3 zoning commission seat. One vote.
Cue the every vote counts lesson.
Yeah. Lou DeZilio, the Republican registrar, told me he expects there will be a recount vote there. Rich Fredette, longtime active Republican in town, he defeated Stephen Roguskis, Democratic. He's a big TNT person. He was also a alternate on the zoning commission, and he won tonight. And Harold Watson, a longtime Democrat, he's also going to be joining the planning commission after he beat John Zibel in a close margin, 969 to 815.
Okay, Melvin Mesa, you can read all of that at StraffordStar.com. Melvin, thank you so much for joining us on our election night coverage here on the HAN network.
All right, I'm going to try and get out of here now before they cut the lights out on me again.
Bye, Melvin.
All right, Kate, you've got some update. Before we go to you, Greg Riley, the editor of the New Canaan Advertiser, we're trying to get an update from there. Greg just said to me there is confusion at Town Hall in New Canaan. So I don't know what that means. Hoping to get an update before we go off the air.
All right. Well, I saw one of our viewers was asking about the race in Danbury for the mayor there, Mark Boughton, versus Democrat Al Almeida. Now, I haven't seen any official results. We don't have a reporter in Danbury, but Mayor Mark Boughton, who's obviously very active on Twitter, said special thanks. This was 16 minutes ago. He said special thanks to Al Almeida for the call, conceded our race, #democracy, #Danbury. So it would appear that Al Almeida conceded to Mayor Mark Boughton. Now, Mark Boughton, 16-year incumbent. Anyone going up against an incumbent for that's a tough race. That's always an uphill battle. Mark Boughton, also one of our town leaders who's expressed interest in running for governor once again, in addition to Mark Loretti and Tim Herbst, who has decided to vacate his seat as first selectman. Now, the other update I have for you is from Steve Coulter of the Ridgefield Press. This is very interesting, but basically, let me see if I can find it. Ridgefield's gone all Democrat. Only one Democrat candidate lost unofficially, which is very unusual. Despite the fact that Ridgefield has a Democrat as first selectman, it's a very Republican town. So this is an interesting shift, and I know Steve Coulter is working on a story. He also spoke to the DTC chairman, Tom Madden, and this is a quote from that chairman saying, "I said last week that I was optimistic. The secret of our success is that we nominate really good candidates. We worked really hard, and our message resonated with the voters." Now, the RidgefieldPress.com will be posting more, but interesting to see that the Democrats doing really well in Ridgefield, which is strongly a Republican town.
That is a very interesting result. I did check base with Paul Silverfarb at the Greenwich Sentinel. I'm getting an update from him. He's got Rob Adams at Democratic headquarters, Rich Kaufman at Republican headquarters. They'll have coverage in the Greenwich Sentinel. The RTM is too close to call. Peter Tassai is up on Sandy Litvak. 53 to 47 with all but one district in. Paul will have updates on that at the Greenwich Sentinel.
All right, and just a quick update from Jill Dion. Milford, a little bit of a quieter race this year because Mayor Ben Blake was running unopposed, but the Milford City Clerk race, still a big deal. So right now, that race is within 150 votes. So they are counting absentee ballots there. Typically, the incumbent wins handily, but Kim Rose is a Democratic challenger, is doing quite well in this race. So we'll see what happens there. You could, of course, get updates at milfordmirror.com.
Odd that a clerk's race would attract that kind, but yeah, a lot of those very rarely come up for election, and when they do, it does tend to be a big deal.
All right, so we're going to step out for a quick break, come back and recap everything that we know right now, see what else comes in. We'll be back with more live election night coverage after this.
New Canaan Foreign Car. Yes, New Canaan Foreign Car has been servicing all makes of foreign cars for over 50 years. We also buy, sell, and consign cars too. We can help you with all your automotive needs from service to sales. Call us at 203-966-2681.
At Portofino Restaurant and Wine Bar in Bethel, fresh and simple food is our concept. Owned and operated by brothers Rocco and Louie, Portofino has a distinct and diverse food and drink menu. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Come join us for live local music on Tuesdays and Sundays, Wednesday nights for mouthwatering prime rib, and every Thursday night is ladies' night. Planning a party? All our catering menus are personalized to suit your event and your budget. Join us at the Dolan Plaza, 213 Greenwood Ave, Bethel, and call us at 203-797-8131. Like us on Facebook.
Welcome back to HAN Network Live election coverage. Kate Chaplinsky with John Kovach, recapping, John, some of the results we've been getting in, and they've been coming in.
It got hot and heavy.
Yes.
I thought they would be quick, it being a local election, because you have fewer districts, fewer votes to count. But no shortage of drama, no shortage of upsets here tonight.
So first, let's start with Darien. Jamie Stevenson, the incumbent and the Republican, winning handily there. Also interesting to note, Rob Richards, the Democrat, he didn't get enough votes to stay on the Board of Selectmen there.
That, I think, is the surprise that will come out of Darien tonight. No surprise in Danbury. Mark Boughton, Republican incumbent, wins re-election over the Democrat Al Almeida.
Right. Haven't seen official numbers there, but that's what we're hearing on Twitter. Also, another race we are following, and that's Greenwich. John, you have an update on what's happening in Greenwich.
This from Paul Silverfarb of the Greenwich Sentinel. He's got Rich Kaufman at Republican headquarters and Rob Adams at Democratic headquarters, and Sandy Litvak called Peter Tassi at 9:30 to concede. Tessie is giving his victory speech now, so a new term for him. And we thank Paul and the guys at the Sentinel for their help with that.
Yeah, we do appreciate that. All right, taking a look at Milford, just mentioned it before the break, but Ben Blake, the Democrat there, he was uncontested, and so, of course, he wins re-election. But city clerk, now that race is still ongoing. So the incumbent Republican Joanne Roehrig is being challenged by Kim Rose, who's a Democrat and a state representative. We last heard from Jill Dion that race was within 150 votes, so they were counting absentee ballots. You could follow MilfordMirror.com if we don't have the results of that before this broadcast goes off the air, John.
In Monroe, it goes heavily Republican. That, according to Brian Gioeli of the Monroe Courier. Ken Kellogg, the Republican-endorsed candidate for first selectman, will replace Steve Vavreck, the Republican who did not seek re-election, and a heavy night with a lot of wins for the Republicans in Monroe.
All right, New Canaan, we're still waiting for the latest update from Greg Riley, our New Canaan Advertiser editor. But the results we have thus far is that Kevin Moynihan has won and Kit Devereaux has conceded. Very tight race there, so interesting to watch. We'll see if we get any more information before we're off air with Greg.
Before we go too far, I want to double back to Easton, as I just got this from Nancy Doniger, the editor of the Easton Courier. The Democratic challenger, Maureen Williams, wins the only contested race for one of two seats on the Region 9 Board of Ed. These are the seats that represent Easton on the Board of Education that oversees Joel Barlow, which is shared between Reading and Easton. She received 687 votes. Republican incumbent Todd Johnston retains his seat with 771 votes. Catherine Gambos, another Republican incumbent, falls off the board, 658 votes.
All right, skipping forward to Ridgefield, we talked about it before the break, no top of the ticket race, but interesting to note there that Democrats doing very well. The big races in Ridgefield were for Board of Education and Planning and Zoning, where there's been some big issues lately that really brought out the voters to vote on that. Democrats doing quite well.
Reading, we had the winner there in the one contested Board of Finance race, Democrat Edward Miller. Democrat Edward Miller wins the Board of Finance race in Reading. He beats Mark Lewis, who lost a Democratic primary to Miller, petitioned his way back on. Miller also beats Republican Louis Goldberg, so a 4-year term for Ed Miller on the Reading Board of Finance.
All right, Shelton. Now, we spoke to Aaron Berkowitz just a little while ago, but the big news there is that Mark Adamski winning a seat on Planning and Zoning, beating out the current chairman, longtime chairman, Ruth Parkins. So interesting race there. We do have an update. Right now on the phone, we have Greg Riley of the New Canaan Advertiser to talk about what's just been a very interesting race for first selectman in New Canaan. Greg, thanks for calling in.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, Greg. So what's happening right now? So last we heard Kit Devereaux had conceded to Kevin Moynihan, yes?
Yes. And the moderator here, I'm at Town Hall, just confirmed that the final numbers going to the state will be Moynihan winning by 33 votes. And that is about 6 votes greater than the margin that would have called for a recount. So if it was less than 27 votes, it would have been a recount, but it's more than 27. So Moynihan is the winner, according to the moderator at Town Hall. And yes, as you saw on ncadvertiser.com, Kit Devereaux conceded a little after 9 o'clock tonight.
Greg,
so very exciting, very close race, close race. Probably the closest certainly a Democrat has ever gotten. And highly contested, but it's over for first selectman.
Pretty sure that's the closest that I've seen for first selectman in New Canaan. That razor-thin margin of victory a surprise, Greg?
Well, you know, some people were thinking that Kit might have won today. So I can't say that the fact that it was close was a surprise. I think everyone was expecting a close race. We did some exit polling here at the 2 polling places, and it indicated that actually Kit might have been ahead a little bit, or it was dead even in the morning. And so no surprise on the closeness, no. But anyway.
How about the rest of the races in New Canaan?
Let's see. The treasurer, the incumbent Republican, won handily, Andrew Brooks. He was challenged by a Democrat,
Robin Fryer, and it looks like that. Well, there were 7 candidates for town council. 6 of them won, and it looks like so we got Tom Butterworth, Elizabeth Donovan, John Engel, Sven England, Rich Townsend, and Penny Young are the winners for town council. There were Board of Ed was uncontested, Selectmen was uncontested, and I'll have to count the constable. We had a constable race here. We had 9 candidates for 7 seats.
Okay, we'll sort that.
Those numbers up yet.
Sort that out for the advertiser. You can get the latest at ncadvertiser.com. Greg Riley, editor of the New Canaan Advertiser. Right. Thanks for joining us. One of the more exciting races tonight.
Yeah,
Kate.
Greg, great job covering it. Thanks for updating us.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
All right. Just moving on, kind of recapping the races we're following. I have heard in the Stamford mayoral race that David Martin, the Democrat there, has won re-election against Republican Michael Fedeli and John Zito, an unaffiliated candidate. So just a little update out of Stamford there. And Stratford as well, another interesting race that we followed. Laura Hoydick winning there, John.
Overwhelming Republican night in Stratford. It could not be more opposite than it was 2 years ago, Kate, when you did not have a mayor up for election and the midterm essentially totally flipped, went with all of the Democrats, anti-Mayor John Harkin's candidate. Tonight you have several of them, several of the pro John Harkin's council members with experience, people who have served before, they win, and Laura Hoydick, who will leave her seat in the 120th District of the General Assembly, will be the next mayor. She took that seat when John Harkins was elected mayor.
All right, and another big race we've been following, of course, that's a result of Trumbull's race for first selectman, where Vicky Tesoro won that race against Republican challenger Paul Lavoie and Michael Redgate, the unaffiliated candidate. And I know Donang was at Democratic headquarters for that. So congratulations to Vicky. We spoke to her. We couldn't hear her because there was a lot of celebrating going on.
There's a lot of celebrating going on there,
but she spoke about
just
kind of uniting Trumbull. And I know that's been an issue in the last few years. Tim Herb's popular with some, controversial first selectman with others. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. See how that transition of power goes, too.
It's going to be a very interesting because you have to have some cooperation between parties to have that peaceful transition of power. Will be a very interesting few weeks here. A landslide in Weston as the Democrats just take over everything. The big one here is Chris Spaulding, the Democrat, beats Republican incumbent First Selectman Nita Daniel, and that is by just shy of 1,200 votes, 1,198 votes there. So a big win there. And we had Jeanette Ross of the Wilton Bulletin on, and similar results coming from there.
Yeah, similar results. Democrats doing really well in Wilton, which was a big surprise. So we spoke to Jeanette more about that. And kind of asking her the reason she thinks that is, and she thinks that, a little bit national issues, national politics playing a role this time around.
It's hard to avoid talking about that, but I'd also like to think that stands on local issues played a big part in some of these, or stands on the tone of government in your particular municipality. I'm tired of the tenor that's been going on, or I want the focus to be on different issues. But I am certain that there is some backlash against what's going on in national politics right now.
Definitely. All right, so those are the races that we have results for right now.
I know some people were looking for Fairfield. I know the Fairfield RTC website has those up in the form.
And I should mention, we do have some unofficial results. Westport now at least reporting that Jim Marp winning re-election there as first selectman. So those are the unofficial results out of Westport. John, it's been a fun night.
It has been a very fun night, very exciting night. 2 hours went fairly quickly.
2 hours did go quickly. And if you want more in-depth analysis on your town, of course, please check your HAN Network news site. There's going to be numbers up there, photos, more information. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow on Coffee Break. And we have
great.
And shout out to crew back there, of course, Mike Seppi, our director, Steve Gutman, and Marty Herson hanging out as well and helping us all out, and all of our new staff that made this possible.
They did the work tonight. And I can't stress that enough, that it was our editors and reporters in the field who did this tonight, and because we're able to have people at all of those locations to get us the results.
All right, now maybe we should go over to, we got to find a party. A lot of people are at the Goose. Where can we go? We got to find something to do.
I don't want to drive too far. I'm sure there's something local.
All right, we're going to wrap things up here on your HAN Network Live Election Night coverage. Thanks for watching. Be sure to catch Coffee Break tomorrow at 11 a.m. for a recap. Have a great night.